نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على سيدنا ومولانا وحبيبنا محمد رسوله النبي الأمين المكين الحنين الكريم الرؤوف الرحيم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين المنتجبين المكرمين المتقين. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الدين عند الله الإسلام. وقال الله تبارك وتعالى في مقام آخر: لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة. صدق الله مولانا العظيم وصدق رسولنا النبي الكريم. Respectable professors, teachers, leaders of different faiths and communities, and brothers and sisters in Islam and in humanity. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And peace and blessings of Almighty Allah be upon you. By the grace of Almighty God, this evening is definitely a very pleasant evening for me. Being with you in this beautiful gathering, which has been organized by Al-Mustafa Foundation, with coordination of Minhajul Quran International, USA, and particularly its wing established for promoting peace and integration between different communities, cultures, and peoples of different faiths, that you have already heard, Peace and Integration Council of North America. I feel honored and pleased to join you in this conference today. And the subject which has been assigned for our talk, for our understanding, for our mutual conversation in the form of question and answers, that is a very significant subject and highly relevant in present circumstances, where, as explained by our Honorable Professor, and who is a lawyer, belongs to my profession too, and a respectable leader of Jewish community and a spokesman of peace for whole of mankind. As he has explained, that unfortunately, because of wrong acts, wrong actions of some people who claim to be Muslims, or who think, and they may think sincerely, but at the same time They may be wrong because of their understanding. Those who think that they are Muslims, they belong to Islamic faith, and they think as if they are defending the Muslim community from its so-called enemies, and they think as if they are launching a jihad for the safety, security, and protection of the interests of Muslim community as well as the interests of Islamic faith all over the world. So because of their specific mindset, they think as if they are serving Islam. But in fact, they are not serving Islamic faith. Whatever they are doing, they are bringing a bad name to Islam, and they are creating a very wrong image of Islamic teachings, particularly for those who are not Muslims and those who have no access to understand Islam through its original Quranic or Hadithic sources. Those billions of human beings living on this planet, this globe, those because of lack of frequent interaction, they are not aware of the realities of other religions. They don't know the true teachings of Quran and the Prophet of Islam. They don't know the real model, practical model of Islam presented, practiced, propagated, and demonstrated by the Prophet himself and his companions and their followers, and then their followers for centuries and centuries. Many people living in this world, they don't know now in present time too much about their own religion. How can they know too much about some other religion which they don't belong to? How many of us sitting here, those who belong to Christianity, they are very punctual or regular in reciting Bible? How many of us, those who belong, I mean the people sitting in our conference today, how many they know how many books are in New Testaments and how many books are contained in Old Testaments? What does Pentateuch mean? How many books are in the Pentateuch? How many books were revealed on different prophets and messengers? How many books have been compiled in Bible after Jesus Christ? What are the true teachings of Jewish religion? What are the true teachings of Buddha? The three baskets. What are the real teachings of Hindu religion in Ramayana? What are the true teachings given by Bhagavad Gita, the sacred book of Hindu religion? What have been said in Upanishad? What have been declared and propagated in different Veds of Hindu religion, Rig Veda, Atharva Veda, Yajur Veda, Sam Veda? What are the teachings of Confucius religions? What are the teachings of many other religious and spiritual reformers and founders of different religions or communities? People don't know. Same is the case of Islam, and particularly people belonging to Islam and those people living in the West and they don't belong to religion of Islam. The same is the question of their understanding, their knowledge, their information. How many non-Muslims are there in this world who have read Holy Quran right from the beginning to end? How many people know Arabic language? How many people really know Hebrew language? So how many people have read the commentaries of Quran to understand true meanings of the Quranic text in its real context, then millions of traditions have been narrated and transmitted in hundreds of the books of hadith of Holy Prophet by the great authorities of Islam, millions of hadiths, whereby Holy Prophet ﷺ has interpreted the Quranic commandments, and he has demonstrated and he has provided the details, and he has educated his people through his traditions, through his speeches, through his practices, through his tacit approvals, recommendations, throughout his life. And they are reported in millions of his traditions and sayings, which are preserved in thousands of books, known as books of hadith and books of sunnah. How many people in Muslim world and in non-Muslim world have gone through it? I would absolutely agree with our brother, the respectable brother, that people in present time try to know about other religion, other community, other society, other culture, just through media, through news, whatever electronic media, TV and newspaper, whatever it projects. Since they have no other source of knowledge for other people, so they perceive and conceive as if this is the true picture of that particular religion and culture. And the media is never interested to propagate whatever good acts are being performed by peaceful people on the surface of earth. They are silent. Whatever pious people, righteous people belonging to Islamic faith, the Muslims, they are performing the acts of charity, performing the acts of piety. They are peaceful, they are loving, they are caring. They believe in humanism, they believe in human values, they believe in democracy, they believe in justice, they believe in rule of law, they believe in social equality, they believe in the legal equality, irrespective of the religion, race, creed and color. They believe in human rights, they believe in protection of human life, every human soul. They believe in the guaranteed protection of human honor, human wealth, human property. So the people living in the Western world or Eastern world, those who don't belong to Islamic faith, they don't know about these things. They are not at fault. The same is the case of Muslims. They don't know the details of the Jewish religions living in the present world and Christian religions and Hindu religions. Just whatever a small piece of information is communicated to them through media, through newspaper, they say, that's it, this is totality. So I think these kind of conferences and seminars, where we have joint sittings, joint gatherings and interaction, we get an opportunity of understanding one another by sitting together, by discussing the issues, by creating a peaceful and loving atmosphere of dialogue. These are the best ways and means to understand each other. And this is the way of spreading the knowledge. And this is the way of, you can say, emergence of wisdom. How the wisdom emerges out of our interaction and experience. And this is how we can then propagate and demonstrate peace practically in our own lives. And we can serve not only all religions, but the whole of humanity by our peaceful attitude towards one another. So as it has been said clearly, Islam itself means peace. The meanings of word Islam, it means to be in peace and to provide peace to others. To live in peace and to let others live in peace. This is the exact meanings of the word Islam. I have delivered many dozens of my lectures and speeches on this particular subject within last 2-3 years. I would not like to repeat this kind of subject. I will try to discuss certain other aspects and dimensions of Islamic teachings in context of its stance on peace. So Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was asked, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is the best act of Islam? I will give 2 references of Holy Prophet traditions just to define, to give a basic understanding of Islam. Then we will proceed further to other aspects. Just please keep in your mind 2 basic references regarding defining Islam, to understand what Islam is. The companions of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they asked, and this hadith has been reported by Abdullah bin Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and this hadith has been transmitted and reported by Imam Bukhari in As-Sahih. And you will be amazed to know that the book of Imam Bukhari, Al-Jami As-Sahih, he has narrated and reported this hadith in his book of faith and chapters of Sahih al-Bukhari. Chapter's name is Serving Food is a Part of Islam. This is the chapter of hadith. Serving food is a part of Islam. It means that serving food to others, which is an act to remove hunger, to fight against hunger and to alleviate the poverty and hunger, this act is not an act of just social service to mankind. No, according to Islam, this is a part of Islam and part of faith, serving food. This is the chapter. So hadith is that Holy Prophet ﷺ was asked by his companions, what is the best part of Islam? What act is we can consider to be the best act among other acts of Islam? Holy Prophet ﷺ answered, تُطْعِمُ الطَّعَامَ وَتَقْرَأُ السَّلَامَ عَلَى مَنْ عَرَفْتَ وَمَنْ لَمْ تَعْرِفْ. Holy Prophet ﷺ said that you serve food to those who are hungry and spread peace everywhere to one whom you know and the one whom you don't know. By implication, it means the one whom you know, he may be a Muslim. And the one whom you do not know, he may be a non-Muslim. So Holy Prophet ﷺ did not qualify the spreading of peace just for Muslims. He stated that this is an absolute act of spreading peace for every human soul living in this world. He said, تَقْرَأُ السَّلَامَ عَلَى مَنْ عَرَفْتَ وَمَنْ لَمْ تَعْرِفْ. And in other hadith, ifsha'us salam, the spreading of peace in human society, irrespective of the fact whether you know him or you don't know. So, giving the salutation of peace and spreading the message of peace and providing the peace to everyone, Holy Prophet said, this is the best act of Islam. Then Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam again, he was asked another question, Ya Rasulullah, who is a Muslim? So this is the second hadith which I am quoting. So now Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving his own vision, his own understanding. He is giving his own concept. He is communicating as the prophet and a messenger. He is communicating his concept of a Muslim, to his ummah, to his community, to his followers. He is saying, to me, a person possessing these qualities is to be considered as a real Muslim. So he said, Al-Muslimu man salima an-nasu min lisanihi wa yadihi. Again, this hadith is reported, transmitted by Abu Huraira, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and it has been reported by Imam Nasai in As-Sunan. And the chapter is the quality of the true believer. And hadith number is 4,995 in Sunan an-Nasai. Holy Prophet ﷺ said, the Muslim is he from whose tongue and hand all people, every single human soul is safe and secure. Only that person is a Muslim according to my view. Holy Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Same has been reported by Hazrat Abdullah bin Amr and quoted by Imam Tabarani in Al-Mu'jam. Al-Mu'jam Al-Awsat, hadith number 3170. I am giving this specific reference because these two hadiths are not confined to providing peace and security to Muslims only. There are some hadiths which talk about Muslims. But particularly at these two places, Holy Prophet declared, Man saliman nasu, all human beings. They should get peace and security from him. And the person who never causes any kind of harm to a human soul, Holy Prophet said, to me, he is really a Muslim. So this is the basic standard definition given by Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I would say this is practical definition. Theologically speaking, there are different definitions. Theologically speaking. But all these faiths and theologies, ultimately, they exist in the form of a practical model. Holy Prophet ﷺ has explained the final practical model of Islam and practical model of a Muslim. The one who is fountain of peace and security for other human beings, he is Muslim. This is the basic thing. Now, Quran says that all teachings of Almighty God which are revealed in Holy Quran, they were practically demonstrated by the Holy Prophet and Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the practical and ideal model of Quran. Whatever was revealed to him, he demonstrated it practically before the mankind. So, in the same way, he established a society in his lifetime as a result of his long-term efforts. And that society was a peaceful society, which was established by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. He propagated peace. He practiced peace. He taught peace to people. And he evolved and developed his own methodology, his own techniques, social, legal, juristic, spiritual, religious, secular, his own techniques and methodologies to establish peace all over the world. And he worked on developing and establishing and strengthening peace within the inner world of a man as well as the outer world of the man, in our inner self and our outer selves. So the society which was formed and established by Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that had many specific qualities which are mentionable, many specific characteristics. But cutting them short and just speaking very briefly and summarizing the whole thing, there were certain basic characteristics which we would say these were the fundamental norms or fundamental basis of Islamic society formulated by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or formed by the Quran. So that prophetic society was based on, number one, the concept of human rights, human unity, and human dignity. This was the first basis. And Quran categorically stated, Ya ayyuhan nasu ttaqu rabbakumul ladzi khalaqakum min nafsin wahida. O mankind, Quran addressed all human beings, speaking of the unity of mankind and equality of mankind. On this subject, whenever Quran reveals, he never specifies his message for Muslims, and Quran never confines his message to Muslims. Whenever Quran speaks of equality, speaks of unity, speaks of human dignity, human honor, human rights, Quran always, without a single exception, speaks and addresses the whole of mankind. Quran says, O mankind, all of you were born from single unit. Your origin is one. That's why you are equal. And this is a message which our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving to the mankind. And his first addressees and his first audience are the Arabs living in Arabian Peninsula, people belonging to the pagan Arab society. Those who could never believe in concept of equality. And he is talking of human equality in front of them to his first audience. Those who believed in their own self-concocted, self-made, self-projected superiorities. They believed in tribal superiorities. They believed in sexual superiorities and discriminations. There were number of kinds of discriminations, a large number and manifestation of different discriminations in their society. This was their faith, their culture, their psychology, their history. They were never used to listen any message based on equality. So the first audience of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is addressing to them, and Quran is being revealed there. And the first message is, Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind, every single human soul has the same origin, so all of you are equal in humanity. Fattaqullah, so fear God Almighty, who is Lord of everyone. Don't be cruel, don't be violent. So the first society was based on the concept of human rights, human unity, human dignity, human equality. Secondly, Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he based his society on second fundamental value. Fundamental principle was promotion of literacy, knowledge and education. This was his second fundamental teaching. Fundamental base, fundamental value, the most significant teaching ever propagated by Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he emphasized throughout his life on spreading knowledge, promotion of literacy, promotion of wisdom, promotion of science, he founded the culture of science and technology. Particularly after giving this a broad-based, you can say, introduction, then I will just emphasize on this aspect, education. So he established peace through education. This is the basic topic which I want to emphasize on today. You would be amazed, my other non-Muslim brothers, to know that first divine revelation which was communicated to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, first Quranic verses which were revealed on him in the cave of Hira, they were Iqra bismi rabbikal ladzi khalaq. Iqra bismi rabbikal ladzi khalaq. Khalaqal insana min alaq. Iqra wa rabbukal akram. Allazi allama bil qalam. Allama al insana ma lam ya'lam. These are the first verses of Quran revealed on Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So through these 5 verses, promulgation of his prophethood starts. He started spreading his message of prophethood. The first message of Quran revealed to Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was for the mankind, was the message of knowledge. Message of literacy and message of knowledge and message of wisdom and message of science. I mean science in the same sense in which we understand science today. These 5 verses, they say, O beloved Prophet, read, commencing with the name of Allah. And teaching somebody and teaching the society to read and write, this was known to be a sin or known to be a crime. The people were against the culture of reading and writing. That's why they are known as pagan Arab society. And whenever Quran mentions about the raising of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Quran says, "Huwa allazi ba'asa fil ummiyina rasula." Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was raised in an illiterate society, an illiterate community. These are the words of Quran. They were illiterate. And just I will quote one example. There is a great historian and geographer, a great authority on Islamic history and geography. His name is Balazuri, Allama Balazuri. He writes in his famous book Futuhul Buldan about Mecca, regarding that age when Holy Prophet ﷺ was not only born, rather when he was raised as a prophet. He says at that time, the metropolitan city of Mecca, this was an international city, and it had big commercial and political significance. It was on international trade route. People used to go from all the Arab Western world to east towards China and India, passing through Mecca. So there were international trades there. So this metropolitan city of Mecca, Balazuri says that at that time its population was more than 1 million people of this Mecca city. 1 million people. And out of 1 million people, only 15 people were able to write their names. This was the level of literacy. This was the position of education, knowledge, literacy, when Holy Prophet ﷺ was raised. So he had to face, you can say, uncountable, numerous challenges, great challenges he has to face. The first challenge I told you was illiteracy. Second challenge, discrimination. Third challenge, killings. Everywhere, killing of human beings was the culture of that pagan society. Tribal wars for centuries. When Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was invited by Yasribites Yasribite means the people who used to live in Yasrib, the inhabitants, the people of Yasrib. Yasrib was the city which became Medina after Holy Prophet's migration. This is his old name. So they were Yasribites like Americans, like Canadians, like British, Yasribites. They were facing a long, long war between the local tribes of Ansar, tribes, for the last 2 centuries. And there was no arbitrator. There was no reformer in the whole society. There was not a single person who would bring the whole of society towards peace. There was not a single person who would raise the slogan of peace, slogan of love, the slogan of moderation, the slogan of dialogue, the slogan of understanding, the slogan of tolerance. There was nobody like that. So the tribal war between different tribes were continuing for the last 2 centuries. Generations had become fed of the whole war, but they had no way to come to the end to peace. So they came to Mecca at the place, met Holy Prophet ﷺ as Uqba, which is now known as Muna. They came there and they invited him as moderator. They wanted Holy Prophet ﷺ to come there to Medina as a moderator, as a reformer, as a peacemaker. And he should come there so that through his efforts, our wars are stopped and our tribes again come back towards life of peace. So he was invited for the sake of peace to the city of Yasrib. You can understand, this was his very well-known and famous character, that this is a person who can bring peace anywhere. Otherwise, they would have chosen somebody else. Whenever some tribes in Mecca, they were about to fight, and they couldn't find anybody who would put the stone of black stone in Kaaba, because all big guns, they were about to fight each other. So to resolve the fight, the only Prophet Muhammad, when he was young, he was the only person who was invited to resolve the whole dispute. Whenever there was a dispute in his young life, people used to come to him, and he was the only person who would resolve the dispute with peaceful ways. This was very well-known, famous and popular character of Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Peace was his character. Peace was his life. Peace was his message. Peace was his practice. Peace was his philosophy. Peace was his teaching. Peace was his demonstration. And finally, peace was his religion. And second thing, when he was raised, he faced an illiterate society, ignorance. So Quran says, read the first word revealed on Holy Prophet ﷺ, the first word of Quran. That is read. Just imagine. You know, the first surah, the chapter in Quran is Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praises are for God. This is the second arrangement and order which was afterward revealed by Almighty God to Prophet Muhammad to put all these chapters in this order. This was the order of the book. So there were 2 orders. One is the order of revelation, and second is the order of compilation, order of book. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, this chapter of praise, this is the first chapter or first verse as far as the order of book is concerned. But I am talking of the order in which the Quran was revealed from heavens to Holy Prophet ﷺ. So the first word revealed on Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was read. In a society, the society which was again, totally against the concept of reading. They didn't believe in books. I'm not talking of the culture of Greece. I'm not talking of the Roman culture. I'm not talking of the Greek culture. I'm not talking of Egyptian culture. where there were philosophies and sciences and writings and books and Socrates and all these philosophers and scientists. No, he was raised not in Greece, not in Roman Empire. He was raised in pagan Arab society, Arabian Peninsula, where there was not a single man who was in favor of reading and writing. And they were enemies to reading and writing. They had a big enmity against reading and writing. So the first word revealed on him in this particular environment, culture, psychology and situation was read, propagation of message of knowledge. It means that the message was telling that, oh my beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you have to bring peace in this world through knowledge. You are supposed to bring peace to this world through education, through spreading literacy. So the words of Quran are, who has created everything? He created man from hanging mass, clinging like a leech to the mother's womb. This is Quranic words. Again, read, and your Lord is most generous, who taught man reading and writing by the pen. So again, pen is something which is totally not known to the Arabs. It is not popular among Arabs. It is not acceptable to them. And who besides that taught man all that which he did not know. These were 5 initial Quranic verses revealed on Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Quranic revelation started from this message of knowledge. 9 subjects were discussed in these 5 verses. 9 subjects. And we would say that these are the basic fundamental 9 concepts or teachings or commandments which came to Holy Prophet ﷺ as a first package of Quranic revelation. First package of Quranic revelation for his ummah, for his community, for mankind. 1 is reading. 2nd subject, creator. Who is the creator? 3rd, what is creation? 4th, about universe. 5th, about humankind. Al-insan, humankind. 3rd, science of embryology. In the first Quranic verse, embryology was mentioned. It is stated, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ عَلَقٍ. This is the 2nd verse in the first message. That Allah is who created man from alaq, and alaq means a hanging mass which clings like a leech to the mother's womb, endometrium of the womb. So this is known as alaq. Some translators who are not aware of the origin of this word, they have translated wrongly. From alaq is muallaq, the hanging thing. Ilaqa, the relationship. So alaq originally means a thing, a hanging mass which clings to something. The endometrium of the uterus of mother. So Quran in its first divine message spoke about the embryology. The 3rd, knowledge and education. Allazi allama bil qalam. Pen. And then allama al insana ma lam ya'lam. He teaches you which the man does not know. So this is research and exploration. These 9 subjects were revealed in the first divine message to Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The society which Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam established in order to promote and strengthen and propagate peace, that society was based on the concept of human rights, human unity, human dignity, and promotion of literacy and knowledge and education. And 3rd is social equality, social and legal equality. This was the basis of the society. The 4th basic value or foundational stone on which this society was based, the first Islamic society formed by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that 4th value was justice and rule of law. Justice and rule of law. So every single subject is an independent aspect which takes long time to understand, to explain. Fifth basic value was freedom of religion, on which the society was based. Freedom of religion. And he practiced and propagated respect for every religion. And sixth value, basic value, was peace, love, tolerance and moderation. And seventh foundational value of that society, or the basis of the society, was democracy. Participation of people in governmental affairs, to run the society, to run the government through participation and consultation of people. These were seven basic, I would say, foundational stones or foundational values on which the Prophet ﷺ based his first human Islamic society, or we would say the first constitutional state of Medina was based on these values. Now coming to another important aspect, that how when Holy Prophet ﷺ started propagating the religion of Islam, how his life, his teachings, how his teachings were perceived, how his teachings were conceived. What was the assessment of other people who interacted with him, who joined him, why they joined him? What was the basic thing which influenced those people to join him, to become his followers? I will quote here 3 examples, briefly, to give you a broad view of Islam on peace, establishing peace. In the early days of Islam, just 5 to 6 years after the commencement of his prophethood or promulgation of Islam, he sent a delegate which was totally consisting of 83, 84 people to a country which was at that time known as Habasha. It is Abyssinia or Ethiopia. And that delegate was headed by Ja'far bin Abi Talib radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He was cousin of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So cutting short the whole story, a situation arose, and in the royal court of the king of Ethiopia, Ja'far bin Abi Talib was asked to state what are the basic teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The king of Ethiopia asked him, in presence of the different scholars, leaders, priests, because this was Christian land, this was a Christian country, and the king was very popular, strong Christian ruler. So he asked Ja'far bin Abi Talib, one of his companions, and his cousin too, that which are the basic teachings of your prophet, of your messenger, which impressed you and you got influenced. So he narrated the basics of his teachings. This hadith which I am quoting has been reported by Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal in his Musnad, and hadith number is 1740. The same has been reported by Imam Ibn Khuzaymah in his As-Sahih, and it has been quoted in all books of Seerah, Ibn Hisham and other books, and Seerah Halabiyah and so on. Ja'far bin Abi Talib states in the royal court of the king. So this is the first public description, yes, public statement made by Ja'far bin Abi Talib in a court of a Christian king. That these are the basic teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam which influenced us. He said, "O king, I am just coming to the main part of this relevant portion." He said, "We were ignorant and uncivilized people. And we were a barbaric nation. And our culture was that the strong among us lived by preying upon the weak. We had no concept of law, of equality. We just acknowledged the authority, the power, the force of the tribal heads. And we knew nothing about human dignity and human equality and human honor or human rights. And we were habitual of committing shameful deeds, immoral activities. And we were habitual of killing our blood relations and killing the other people and small kids and children after their birth. And we had no concept of fulfilling any rights of neighbors or rights of other human beings. In this particular situation, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was raised, and he taught us. Whatever he said, that was totally against our existing culture, against our psychology, against our thoughts, our ideas, our practice, our societal and social values, which we knew. He spoke something against everything. So the king of Abyssinia asked, "What did he teach you?" He spoke. He said, he exhorted us to speak the truth and to protect the weak, the poor, the humble, the widows, and the orphans. Now he is giving a picture, basic picture of Holy Prophet's basic teachings. And he said he ordered us to show respect to women. And he said, you should never slander them. He commanded us to be faithful in our trusts, to fulfill our promises and trusts. And he commanded us to observe our duties to our kinsfolk, our neighbors, to refrain from forbidden things and bloodshed and killing and act of violence and barbaric activities. He stopped us from committing immoralities and shameful acts, and stopped us from committing deceits and from consuming the properties of orphans and the weak people of our society. He stopped us from committing vulgarity. He showed us the path of morality, piety, righteousness, kindness, love, caring, mercy. So this was the crux of the first speech. You can imagine that this is the 5th year of Holy Prophet's promulgation, 5th and 6th year. I want to explain how the people of that time, they perceived and conceived prophetic teachings and the commandments of Islam. How they viewed the religion of Islam. Through the practice of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and through the injunctions and commandments given by him. Now, second important document which is available in the books of Islamic literature, this meeting which I am talking about, when I said that some Yasribites came to Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and met him in Aqaba. This was 621 AD. In first year 6 people came, and second year 12 people came, and third time 82 people came to him. So when these 12 people came to Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Yasrib, they embraced Islam after receiving the basic teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the basic teachings which Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave to them, and they gave their hands in the hands of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this was the pledge which he took from them. Pledge. This is known as the first pledge of Aqaba. If you are embracing Islam and you have chosen to be my followers and to be my companions, now you have to give this pledge to me, and you have to remain loyal to these basic commitments throughout your life. And you can't violate these basic commitments. This is Islam and this is my teaching. So what were the salient features of that first pledge, which was taken by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by those 12 Yasribites who came to him, embraced Islam, and became his representatives, and his messengers went back with his teachings. So that basic features of this pledge are: he was taking pledge from them. And they were repeating his words. They said, we would not indulge in adultery. We should neither practice nor propagate acts of indecency. We would not steal or rob anyone's property. This is the pledge Holy Prophet ﷺ is taking from them. And this is the propagation of Islam. These are the teachings of Islam. Totally based on humanitarian values. Totally based on spiritual human rights. Totally based on ethical values, on moral values. He took pledge that we would not practice the custom of killing the people, and particularly killing the children, and especially killing the female infants. This was a common practice there. We would not falsely accuse or backbite anyone. We would never defame women. We would always observe life full of chastity, purity, and righteousness. He never missed the subject of rights of women in any of his speech or any of his pledge or any of his injunctions. And then he said, another pledge he took, he said, we would support the truth and justice, and we will stand firm in favor of truth and justice in all circumstances. Just imagine, this is the totality of the pledge which Holy Prophet ﷺ is taking from the Yasribites. In his first meeting, it means this is the message of Islam which he is sending through them to the city of Medina. Which I can easily infer that he wanted to establish the society of Medina, or Islamic Society of Medina, establish society on the basis of these values, of these teachings. So it was about 12 years after promulgation of Islam when this pledge took place. Now he migrates to Medina. Before the first year of his migration ends, so he entered into an alliance with Jews. Now he is establishing a society based on tolerance, based on mutual understanding, based on peaceful coexistence, and based on a culture of dialogue, and based on interfaith harmony. Through his own sunnah, his own practice. He took two major steps after migration to Medina. Soon after his migration, he invited all Muslims in a house, and the total number at that time was approximately 400, including the migrants who came from Mecca, and including the locals, Ansar of Medina. And he made an alliance between the Muslims, because some of them were migrants who came from Mecca, and some of them were the locals of city of Medina. So they had different ethnic backgrounds. This society was a total tribal society. And they believed in ethnic discriminations and tribal discriminations. And they have totally different attitudes and different preferences. So there was many areas of differences and distances between them. So he wanted to make them a single community. He wanted to integrate them, to live together under the concept of unity and sharing. So the first step he took, that is known as brotherhood. It was a contact between Muslims, al-muakhat. He declared that every single person who comes from Mecca is brother of somebody who is from the city of Medina, the original citizen or local. So the people stood up one by one, and he announced, you are brother of this, Zayd is brother of Bakr, A is brother of B, and C is brother of D, E is brother of F, and M is brother of N, and so on and so forth. So he made a collective brotherhood between 400 Muslims. So now these different tribal units These different units now, they are becoming a Islamic federation. It is becoming an Islamic federation. It is becoming an Islamic society. An idea of Islamic unity is emerging on the basis of brotherhood. And he ordered them to share your economic sources with each other, to alleviate and remove the poverty. The people coming from Mecca, they had no source of income over here. They had no means of income of living. They primarily was used to trade and commerce. And the people of Medina were primarily, they had their business in the form of agriculture. They are farmers, agriculturists. To different backgrounds, putting them together, he said, share your sources and means. And at the later stage, he gave this kind of teaching to the community. He said, Ta'amul wahid yakfil isnain. Wa ta'amul isnain yakfil arba. Wa ta'amul arbat yakfil samaniya. He said, if you had a food just for one person, it would be sufficient to keep two persons alive. Call other person and he should join your food. And food of 2 persons is sufficient to keep 4 persons alive. And food of 4 persons is sufficient to keep 8 persons alive. So he gave a concept of collective sharing. He gave a concept of charity. He gave a concept of mutual assistance. He gave a concept of mutual support. He gave a concept of establishing a welfare-based society through al-muakhat. After achieving this target, he took the second step, Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and second step of the same kind. He established the second alliance between Muslims and Jews and non-Muslims. Just imagine. After converting the Muslim segregated groups into a unity, collective unity, after provide them a solidarity, after provide them a concept of togetherness, of a concept of belonging to a single community, now he took 2 different communities and merged them into one community again. On the one hand, there were Muslims from Mecca and Medina together, one community. On the other hand, there were Jews and all other tribes who were allies of Jews, of different tribes of Jews at that time. So he took all Jews, their tribes and their allies as one community, and all Muslims, migrants and locals in one community, and put them together and announced from today, on the basis of this constitution, which is being drawn, known as As-Sahifa, the first written constitution of Medina. He said, on the basis of this constitution, I declare all Muslims and all Jews and their allies and tribes are together a single nation. They have become a single community. They have become a single ummah. The word ummah, which means community. Single community. So he took this step further. You understand? He came out of the narrow borders and he broadened it and took up his message up to the humanitarian level and up to the level of the human world. And he demolished all walls of hatred and segregation and discrimination and putting all people belonging to different faiths into a single community. And he is the founder or the concept of the modern day concept of nation. What is American nation? What is Canadian nationhood? What is British nationhood? People belonging to many parts of the Western and Eastern world. They came, settled here. Their ethnic backgrounds are different. They belong to different color, different creeds, different faith, different culture, different ethnic background, different countries. But they have become a single nation. They have emerged, they have a collective unity. This concept, the Canadian society, the society of immigrants, some came from Britain, some people came from France, Some people came from the different parts of Europe. Some people came from China, from East and Western world, having different faiths, different ethnic backgrounds. So putting all together, all these communities have become single community. This is Canadian nation. This is American nation. This is British nation. These are Europeans. So this modern day concept of nation, the founder in the history of mankind is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It would be strange if some people claiming to be Muslims and those who wish to kill other non-Muslims by committing suicide bombings, by acts of terrorism, by acts of barbaric attacks, and by acts of violence, and they consider that just we are we. Nobody else has any right to live in this world. This silly approach and nonsense, this is in fact the enmity to the message of Prophet Muhammad. This is against Islam, against Quran, against the practice of Prophet Muhammad, against whatever was demonstrated by the Sunnah of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Holy Prophet provided peace to every human soul. He put all communities together and declared them a single nation. He provided the guarantee of protection of life, wealth, business, community, freedom, culture to everybody. And he said the words written in the document, Article 2, he said, Innahum ummatum wahidatum min dunin nas. And Article 1 of this Constitution of Medina, written by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, this is a document from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet, between the Muslims of Quraysh and the Muslims of Yasrib, one party. And all those Jews and other their tribes who joined them as their allies and attached themselves to them. And all those who will now fight together the war of defense of this state, the war of defense of this society, who will fight together, work for mutual defense. Today, this is the first article. The second article says, all these communities today, they form one community, one single nation to the exclusion of others. Then he repeatedly wrote in Article 28, he said in Article 28, Inna Yahuda Bani Auf Ummatum Ma'al Mu'minina Lil Yahudi Dinuhum Walil Muslimina Dinuhum. He said the Jews of Banu Auf, and then he mentioned all other names. In the same document, the Jews of Banu Najjar, the Jews of Banu Haris, the Jews of Banu Sa'idah, the Jews of Banu Jusham, the Jews of Banu Al-Aus, the Jews of Banu Tha'labah, all Banu Shutayba. He mentioned every single tribe and then their allies. And then said, all these Jews jointly with Muslims, the both communities today, they form one community and one nation of Medina. This is Article 28. And this is very unfortunate. Just a few days before, I was reading some translation written by someone. He translated the document of the Constitution of Medina as Sahifa. And when he came to Article 28, he missed in his translation the first sentence, so that the people may not know the stance of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It means he is not ready to accept, as our brother said, there are some people in every religion, those who do not really follow their own religion. They use just the name of their religion for their own negative and vicious agenda, for their own motives. They use the name of religion, but they are not true followers of that religion. So Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam declared all these as a single nation. Then Article 45, they said the Muslims and non-Muslims, the Jews, all these tribes, they will aid and support one another against whoever is at war with the people of this treaty, the people of this constitution. Means the people of Medina. Then Article 62, he says, anyone, even among the Jews, who goes out, he would be safe. Who stays here would be safe. And nobody would be allowed to attack on him, whether he is staying in Medina or he is on his journey, on his own trip, anywhere. Only those people are to be taken action against them, those who violate the constitution. And Article 49 states, the city of Yasrib, Medina, is from today a haram. As our brother said, sanctuary of peace and security for the people of this treaty. So the second major step taken by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was that he declared that the city of Medina, nobody can take up arms in this city. This is safe and secure city. You can live here and feel security and peace. No need of protecting yourself. The state is responsible and constitution of peace has been enforced. This was the third step by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this was, you can say, 14th year of his promulgation of Islam. Now 8 years later, when his struggle was on his climax of his heights, at the time of the conquest of Mecca, 8th year after his hijrah, after his immigration to Medina, then when Mecca was conquered, and he entered into Mecca as the conqueror, but without any single bloodshed. Without bloodshed of a single man, in a peaceful manner. So he gave his speech there, delivered a speech, which became an international charter of human rights and peace. And this was a new international world order of peace. That was Hajjatul Wida, in 9th of Zil-Hijjah. It was 10th year of his migration. After conquesting the same, because whatever main articles he included in his speech at the conquest of Mecca in 8th of Hijrah is already included in that, which is his speech, very comprehensive speech, which he delivered on 10th of Hijrah. And that is known as the last Hajj, Hajjatul Wida. So I'm quoting few aspects from there. So this was a global declaration of peace. This was a world order, new world order issued by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the mankind. The first and main remarkable feature of that speech, the global charter issued by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the mankind, and particularly for his followers, for his ummah, Muslims, was establishment of world peace and prohibition of human killings. This was his major commandment, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was a charter against every kind of violence and every form and manifestation of terrorism. This was the most vital aspect of the prophetic speech, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which was delivered in order to establish the peace at global level. Nations, countries and tribes, they were constantly at war in those days with one another. And their constant fights, they were resulting in massive slaughter and massacre and devastation. Swords were drawn out at the smallest pretext. Very, very minor issues and disputes, they would take out the swords. And generations of human beings were slaughtered in the blink of an eye. This was the situation of their society, in which Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given a task of establishing global peace by his Lord. And he became successful. The Prophet issued sallallahu alaihi wasallam his proclamation of world peace in these horrifying circumstances, and he was announcing in front of 125,000 of his followers. This was the audience. 125,000 companions were his audience. And he was giving his worldwide charter of peace, an international order of peace for humanity. And he said, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna dima'akum wa amwalakum wa aradakum haramun alaykum ka hurmati yawmikum haza wa ka hurmati shahrikum haza fi baladikum haza. Please try to concentrate on the beautiful words, very, very significant and vital words uttered by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the great cause of establishing the global peace for the mankind. He was stating, "O mankind, I call upon you all to show respect to the honor, to the life, and to the property of every human being in the same manner as you show honor and respect to this house of God, Kaaba. You are supposed to show respect to the life, honor, and property of every human soul, as you are religiously supposed to show your respect and honor to this holy day of Hajj and this holy month of Hajj." So he equalized the importance of human life with the importance and sacredness of the Kaaba. There is nothing which can be said beyond this. Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sanctified the life, honor, respect, freedom, and property of every human soul. He was not talking about Muslims. The world is Ya Ayyuhan Nas, O mankind. Life, honor, respect of every human soul should be respected and protected as the protection of the respect of this house of God, Kaaba. The second significant message which he gave in his speech was the killing of humankind. He is declared would be considered as an act of disbelief. Killing of mankind. He said it would be considered as an act of disbelief. And he said, "La tarji'u ba'di kuffara yadribu ba'dukum riqaba ba'din." These are the words of Sahih Bukhari. He said, "Beware, do not return to disbelief after me. Start chopping one another necks and killing one another. If you start again the act of killing one another, it means you are going back to disbelief." So my brothers and sisters in Islam and brothers and sisters in humanity, first of all, I would like to give my message to those youngsters, youth who have been brainwashed with wrong interpretations of Quran and Sunnah, with misapplication and wrong application out of the context, wrong application of certain terms of Quran and Sunnah like jihad and shahada. They have been giving totally wrong concept. Nobody will ever get heavens, or nobody would ever get any single virgin, hur, through an act of killing any mankind. He may be a Muslim, he may be a Jew, he may be a Christian, he may be a Hindu. Any person who belongs to peaceful civilian society and he is not combatant with you in the battlefield one by one. If you kill anybody, be sure by the greatness of Almighty Allah and by the Prophethood, I swear by God and I swear by Prophet Muhammad, he will never go to Jannah. Because the act of killing innocent people, the act of killing civilian people, Muslims or non-Muslims, act of killing non-combatant people, even they may belong to a country which is at war with you, but those people are civilians, they are non-combatants, they are not fighting against you in the battlefield, killing them. They may be ambassadors, they may be envoys, they may be teachers, they may be preachers, they may be farmers, they may be agriculturists, they may be priests, they may be the servants and people working in the cloisters and the churches and synagogues, any temple, anywhere. Women, ladies, sick person, old age people, killing them who are peaceful. This is an act which lead anybody, the killer, to hell fire. The third basic declaration given by Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the declaration of human equality. And he abolished all kinds of ethnic and social discriminations. He said, Ya Yuhannas, inna rabbakum wahidun, wa inna abakum wahidun, wa kullukum banu adama wa adamu min turab, inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. فليس لعربي على عجمي فضل ولا لعجمي على عربي فضل ولا لأسود على أبيض ولا لأبيض على أسود فضل إلا بالتقوى. Again it comes in Musnad Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, Abu Dawud and Tirmizi. O people, you have only one Lord and only one Father. Therefore you are all equal by virtue of this unity. This is the message of Islam. This is true Islam, religion of Islam. And now he says, all bogus claims of superiority and discrimination have been terminated. So neither an Arab, he is addressing the Arabs. His first immediate audience are the people belonging to Arab nation. And this was the concept of superiority. It was ingrained in their nature and psychology, in their psyche. He is addressing that nation. He is saying, no Arab is superior to a non-Arab, or a non-Arab superior to an Arab, nor is any black superior to a white, or a white superior to a black. And in another version he said, no white, no black, no brown, all three colors. Nobody is superior to anyone on the basis of color, race and these things. Excellence is based only on integrity of character, on your kindness, on your piety, on your righteousness, on your mercifulness, on your peacefulness. It depends only how much righteous and pious you are. He terminated and abolished all other self-concocted levels and principles of superiority of man over man and dominion of man over man. This was a universal declaration of human equality. Then he came to the subject of women's rights and their equality with men. He said, Ya Yuhannas, inna lakum ala nisaikum haqqa. Then Holy Prophet said, Walahunna alaykum haqqa. Walahunna mithlu alladhi alayhinna bil ma'ruf. It is in Quran. And Holy Prophet said, Wastawsu bin nisa'i khayra. Fattaqullah fi nisaikum. Fa innahunna indakum awanun. Beware indeed, you have certain rights with regard to women. And similarly, women have the same rights over you. Guard them fully with justice and equality. Always treat women fairly and fear God in the matter of women's right. Remember, the Holy Prophet said, that the women are your equals and your partners. This is the concept of awanun, their partners. You are both sex, male and female, are co-workers and co-supporters and partners. So through this world, 15 centuries before, he is giving a message to the mankind, message of equality of man and women. Eliminating this discrimination. And Quran said, وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. They have the same rights, not similar, same rights as you have rights on them. And then he said, O people, I call upon you to treat them with respect, love, kindness, affection and fairness. They are your equal partners. And fear Almighty God in matter of the women's rights. These are the words of Holy Prophet. Then he said, Ariqa'akum, Ariqa'akum, Ariqa'akum. At'imuhum mimma ta'kulun. Waksuhum mimma talbisun. Holy Prophet ﷺ said, at this hadith again, this portion in Musnad Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, Musannaf Abdul Razak and Tabaqat of Ibn Sa'd, he said, take care of the depressed peoples. That was the society, slavery was a common factor all over the world, in all cultures, in all countries around the world, from east to west. It was never introduced by Islam. You should be very well aware of this fact. Thousands and thousands years before Islam was promulgated, slavery existed in every country and every society of the world. Holy Prophet took certain reformative steps to abolish it. He never introduced it. He rejected it. He discouraged this institution of slavery, and he provided them equal rights, and finally he provided a methodology for abolition of slavery from the world. And he said, take care of the depressed classes. They may be your slaves, they may be your workers, they may be poor people. Those people who live, and he gave the concept, the people who live in your custody, they are not your slaves. Allah has given them birth as free human beings. Who are you to make them your slaves? He said, they are in your custody and guardianship. So God has put some responsibility in their respect on your shoulders. Take care of the distressed people. Take care of distressed people, he repeated 3 times. And he said, feed them with whatever you eat yourself. Make them wear whatever you wear yourself. And if they commit any sin or fault, Holy Prophet said, forgive them, because they are weak. The societies of that present time were, if they committed any fault, they were used to put in front of lions to eat. Their punishment was double, 4 times more. In that particular culture and society where they were always punished, and they were not considered to be human beings, and nobody was there to have an idea of equality of those people. In that particular society, he is saying, feed them with what you eat yourself. And he says, instead of punishing them if they commit any sin or fault, forgive them. And then another beautiful thing he said, and if you don't have such moral courage to forgive them, you can't forgive them, he said, then liberate them. Either forgiveness or liberation. So Prophet Muhammad stood for liberation of slaves. He stood up for liberation of slaves. He stood up of upgradation of the people who were depressed. He stood up for providing the respect and upgradation of the women. He stood up for equality of mankind. He stood up for respecting and protecting the rights of human souls. He stood up for the social equality and legal equality of every single person living in the society. He stood up for eliminating the discrimination between rich and poor. And they said, these poor people are also servants of God. Don't punish them. And then he gave another declaration, prohibition of injustice and oppression. He said, Allah la tazlimu, Allah la tazlimu, Allah la tazlimu. Innahu la yahillu malu imri'in illa bitibin la tazlimun wa la tuzlamun. Don't be unjust. Don't be unjust. Don't be unjust. And then he said, don't be cruel and violent to anybody. Don't be cruel and violent. Don't be cruel and violent. It is not permissible for anybody to take anyway someone's property or wealth except with his free consent. And then he said, don't hurt any human being so that you are not hurt. Don't wrong anybody so that you are not wronged. So this was the foundation of a society based on equality, justice and freedom, and based on charity, knowledge and literacy. And ultimately, Holy Prophet ﷺ condemned all kinds of extremism and terrorism. And he said, moderation, moderation, moderation. He said, my deen is an easy religion. And I recommend you, O my people, moderation, 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 he said. These are the words of Holy Prophet ﷺ, the society which he established. The words of Holy Prophet ﷺ. He said, halakal mutanatti'un, halakal muta'ammiqun, halakal mushaddidun. O kama qalaha salasan. Ruined are those who are extremists. This is hadith of Holy Prophet. This is not something which I have translated or I have interpreted or I have described in my own way or I have, you can say, inferred through the text of the hadith. No, by God, these are the actual words and the real text of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 15 centuries before. It is quoted in Sahih Muslim, Kitabul-Ilm, and the chapter of Sahih Muslim, this book was compiled 1200 years before. Reporting the hadith of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the chapter's name is Babu Halakal Mutanatti'un. Ruined are those who are extremists. This is the chapter. Holy Prophet repeated it 3 times. 3 times. And Holy Prophet said, religion is very easy. It is stated in Sahih Bukhari, Kitabul Iman, Babu Ad-Dinu Yusran. Chapter is that deen is very easy. Holy Prophet said, the most beloved religion to Almighty Allah is the tolerant and the moderate one. He said, religion is very easy and relaxing. Whoever overburdens himself with an extreme vision or practice of religion, he would be suppressed, he would be ruined. So you should not be extremist. So somebody is not saying these words in present day after 9/11. This is not a speech delivered by somebody after 9/11. This is not a speech delivered by somebody after the terroristic activities of Al-Qaeda or Taliban and this and these kind of groups, or present time when the war against terror has started. Somebody is not delivering this speech after these events. No, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has delivered these words to the mankind 15 centuries before, when there was no 9/11. He was giving the foundations of the religion, and these are the foundation of every religion. These are the teachings of Jewish religion. The same are the teachings of Moses, the same are the teachings of Noah, same are the teachings of Abraham, same are the teachings of Jesus Christ, and same are the teachings of every religion and every holy book revealed by God. Holy Prophet said, whoever burdens himself with an extreme vision of religion, قال إن الدين يسر ولن يشاد الدين أحد. Extremistic view, extremistic vision and practice, whoever adopts in religion, Holy Prophet said, he would be suppressed, he would be ruined. إلا غلبه فسددوا وقاربوا وأبشروا. Holy Prophet said, you should never be extremist. Try to be near to perfection through balance and moderation, and by this way receive the good tidings and rewards. Then Holy Prophet said again, Al-Qasd, Al-Qasd, Al-Qasd. Holy Prophet said, Al-Qasd, Al-Qasd tablughu. These are the word of Holy Prophet. Moderation, moderation, moderation. And through moderation you will reach the destination. Moderation, moderation, moderation. And through moderation you will reach the real destination. This is the speech of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then Holy Prophet again said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the moderate way of life is the best of all. And he said, Inni akrahu an yakuna fi dinikum ghilza. Al-Bayhaqi. He said, I don't like and I hate that there should be any kind of extremism in your religious practice. He said, I hate there should be any kind of extremism in your practice. And then Holy Prophet said, Ravvihu qulubakum sa'atan fasa'atan. Relax, be moderate, and relax yourself from time to time through games and supports. This is the teachings of Holy Prophet. Play football, play cricket, play basketball, play other games, play sports. Ravvihu sa'atan fasa'atan. With sports and games, relax yourself. Don't create stresses and strains and extremistic kinds of practices in your life. Deen is an easy thing. That's why Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam established supports in his society of Medina. He promoted supports. He used to organize tournaments for the youth. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the days of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 15 centuries before, of course, there was no concept of hockey. There was no football. There was no basketball. If these games had existed at that time, he would have also announced for his followers to participate in them. But the games of that time were, and he used to organize all these sports and games in the society of Medina as head of the state. He promoted and encouraged the horse riding. Holy Prophet ﷺ encouraged horse riding. He encouraged the camel riding. And there he used to establish horse racing, camel racing, donkey racing at that time. There were supports. He encouraged wrestling. He himself practiced wrestling 2 times in his life. And both times he won as a wrestler. Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he encouraged archery. He encouraged swimming. He himself practiced swimming in his young age. And once some tears came in his eyes when he remembered, when I was young, I used to swim in this pond of my grandfather. Then he always provided the trainers for these people. He used to organize the tournaments and used to announce them the rewards for first, second, and third. He always encouraged athletics in Medina. He encouraged weightlifting. And he always gave the people first aid training. He was leader of mankind of this kind and this caliber and this status. That's why the Western scholars and Orientalists and great Western historians, I'm finishing on their comments. They appreciated the personality of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a very good way. John Bronowski, he writes in his book, The Ascent of Man. It was printed in London in 1973, the edition which I am quoting from, which I have, page 165, 166. He writes, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had been firm that Islam was not to be a religion of miracles only. It became an intellectual content, a pattern of contemplation, research, and analysis. Then Robert Briffault, another Western famous historian, in his famous book, The Making of Humanity, he writes in page 190, 191, a well-reputed Western scholar. He said, for although there is not a single aspect of European growth in which the decisive influence of Islamic culture is not traceable. Further, the same author, Robert Briffault, in The Making of Humanity, same page, he writes, what we call science arose in Europe as a result of a new spirit of inquiry, of new methods of investigation, experiment, observation, measurement, and development, unknown to the Greeks. That spirit and those methods were introduced into the European world by the Arabs. This has been appreciated by Robert Briffault, famous book on the making of humanity. Then Joseph Schacht and C.E. Bosworth, their joint article in the book The Legacy of Islam, page 427, 426 and 427. These both famous religious and historical scholars and juristic scholars, Western thinkers, they say there is no doubt that the Islamic sciences exerted a great influence on the rise of European science. And in this renaissance of knowledge in the West, there was no single influence but diverse ones. The main influence was, of course, from Spain, then from Italy and Palestine through the Crusaders who had mixed with Muslims and seen the effect of sciences in Muslim culture. So they brought this influence to European history. Then Reverend George Bush, he writes in his book, The Life of Muhammad, he says, no revolution in history effected by the religion has introduced greater changes into the state of the civilized world than that which was grown out of the rise, progress, and permanence of Mohammedanism. And the last reference which I will, to close my speech, is by the professor, famous author and historian of the West, Professor Hitti. He writes in his famous book, History of the Arabs, page 383 and 387. He says, the bulk of this scientific material, whether astronomical, astrological, or geographical, penetrated the West through Spanish and Sicilian Islamic channels. And then the same Professor Hitti writes on page 568 to 573. He says, not only are most of the star names in European language of Arabic origin, but a number of technical terms are also likewise of Arabic etymology and testify to the rich legacy of Islam to Western Europe. This was the legacy given by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, legacy of knowledge, legacy of wisdom, legacy of research, legacy of sciences, which Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam left for his ummah, and he promoted through his movement of spreading literacy, knowledge, science, and education. Up to the extent, just one example, when 70 prisoners of war were arrested and they were brought to Medina from the battle of Badr. 70 prisoners of war, Meccan, non-Muslims. They came there. At that time, as a humble student of law, and our respected brother will share this thing with me and he will appreciate that international law at that time, which was prevalent in the world, for prisoners of war, they used to decapitate them. There was beheading, capital punishment, punishment of death for prisoners of war. This was Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who changed this law of the prisoners of war first time in the history of law, international law. He said, no decapitation. No decapitation. There would be exchange. First thing. A new introduction of law in the history of international law. Secondly, if the state can bear the expenses, then ransom money. If on both sides there are no prisoner of war, there are only one side, so exchange is not possible, then they can be freed on ransom money. He introduced two laws. By cancelling the law of decapitation and cancelling the law of death punishment. And then third thing which he introduced, interesting, it is reported in our all Islamic books, in hadith and books of history. First time in Medinan history, 70 prisoners of war from Meccan non-Muslims, they came to Medina. First of all, he asked, is there any prisoner of war from our community in Meccan under the custody of Meccan government so that we may go further proceed for exchange? Answer was no, because there was no Muslim prisoner of war in Mecca. Then he asked, is Mecca ready to pay the ransom money for their freedom, liberation? The Meccan said no. We are not ready to pay any single penny for our prisoners, their own soldiers. He asked, do they have something to pay? They said, no, we have nothing in our pockets. Holy Prophet ﷺ promulgated a new law. He said, is anybody amongst these prisoners of war, among you, is qualified, is learned, is literate? All those who are literate, he said, your ransom is for liberation is that you teach 10 children of my city of Medina, you will be free without any money. The prisoners of war were made teachers. They were made teachers. So they taught, every single literate prisoner of war taught 10 children of city of state of Medina. And they got freedom, liberation, they went back. This was his encouragement of knowledge, encouragement of education, encouragement in this movement of literacy. Even, he said that even they were non-Muslims. So no, last message is for the Muslim brothers, see the openness of the seerah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His openness. He never hesitated in appointing a non-Muslim kafir who was fighting the next day against Muslim army, against Medina in Battle of Badr. And he became prisoner of war, he was arrested. And in spite of this fact, he may think that he may corrupt the minds of my children. He may give them a distorted vision of religion. He may corrupt their aqidah, their faith. There were so many possibilities. But instead of all these things and possibilities, look at the openness, the liberal view of Holy Prophet, the moderate, the liberal, the modernistic, accommodating, and inclusive view of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Humanitarian approach. He said, no problem if they are non-Muslims, they are non-believers. Even yesterday they were our enemies fighting against it. Since they are literate, I appoint them as teachers of the children of state of Medina. And he said, at that time, America was not discovered. Europe was not discovered too, but not aware. They were not aware at that time. Holy China was known at that time. East and African countries were known to them. He said, "Utlubul ilma walau bis-Sin." He knew that China was not an Islamic country. Holy Prophet ﷺ knew Islamic country at that time was just Medina. Then Arabian Peninsula and then other countries gradually. China was definitely a non-Muslim country. He said, it is incumbent and mandatory on you to receive education, to travel for education, for getting science, technology, education, knowledge, even if you have to go and learn something from China. Because this was a famous old ancient civilization of that time. He said, even if you have to go to China so far, and number two, it was very far from Medina, very far. You have to travel so much, and even you have to go to a non-Muslim country, you have to receive knowledge. Knowledge is something which has to be achieved, which has to be attained at any level, at any cost, from anywhere you may get it. So this is, in fact, these are the real teachings of Islam. So Islam established the peace in his own society of Medina and in whole of Arabian Peninsula, and then later in all of the whole of the world through the Quran and Sunnah teachings based on these concepts which I have mentioned, concepts of education, the concepts of freedom of religion, the concept of justice, concept of democracy, concept of human rights, concept of human dignity, concept of tolerance, concept of moderation, and concept of research. And by promoting the character and behavior of kindness, mercy, love, and moderation. Dear brothers and sisters, so this is Islam. These are the teachings of Quran. These are the teachings of the Sunnah of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I repeat it again that you will never find any inconsistency or any difference in all these values and basic teachings in any of the religions. In my whole life, I have read many times from the beginning to the end, the whole of Bible. I have read Bhagavad Gita. I have personally gone through the Ramayana. I have gone through 3 baskets of Buddha. All important religions of the world I have gone through in my young life many, many times. Even sometimes now I study all books, and I have never found any conflict between these teachings based on peace, kindness, humanitarianism, humanity, love, mercy, respect, and all these basic values which has been preached and demonstrated by Islam. Same values are available in all religions. So the people, they may belong to any faith or they may not belong to any faith, revealed faith. So they should stand up, join together for the great and noble global cause of peace and humanity. Almighty Allah will help us. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum.